Greetings, everyone. Many people have been challenging the topic of Adam and Eve, saying that there are contradictions in the story. You would hear comments like, how can Cain go to the land of Nod and find their wife when it was just him, Adam, and Eve? Or that God also created other humans other than Adam and Eve? Well, let's dive into it. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. So Adam and Eve were created on the sixth day. So technically, Adam and Eve didn't have to go through childhood because they were created as adults. Remember that part because it will come up later. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So Yahuwah's instruction to Adam and Eve was to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. So in other words, get a lot of children. Remember this text because it will also pop up later. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. You see, when you read about this account, Cain and Abel are depicted as teenagers or young adults. We all see it in the images in the Bible storybooks. But the Bible never told you how old Cain and Abel were. Check what Genesis chapter 4 verse 3 says. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. The Bible says, and in the process of time. So we don't know how much time had passed. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the ground, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. You see, because God did not respect Cain's offering, because sin lieth at the door, Cain got very angry and slew his brother. It is clear that this Bible text was referring to the first murder. It wasn't just Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel that was on the earth at this time. Remember that in Genesis chapter 1 verses 28, God instructed Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And I am going to prove this. Listen to what Cain says here. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. To which the Lord replied, and the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Check what Cain says here in the latter part of verses 14. Every one that findeth me shall slay me. So Abel is dead. So that leaves only Adam and Eve, right? So is Adam and Eve to whom the text is referring? Who is this everyone? Check what God says in verse 15, that whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. It is clear that Cain would have had then brothers, sisters, nephews, and nieces. And because Cain killed their beloved brother and uncle Abel, that they sought Cain's life. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and bare Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. So people answer this question, how can Cain leave from the land that he was in and found a wife? You see, I hear people coming with these theories like, God also created other people on the earth besides Adam and Eve. Or you would hear that Adam's first wife was a female demon called Lilith that bore him children. So we are going to use the Bible to explain this. This is also another text that is used. And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Some may wonder, Cain killed Abel, his brother, and then went out to the land of Nod and found a wife. But was not the third child Seth, which is a male? So Adam and Eve got Seth when they were 130 years old. And then Adam and Eve decided to bear sons and daughters 670 years later. And it is nothing wrong with thinking that, because the Bible said it. But have you not thought of this? Suppose that females' names were not mentioned when you read the entire chapter of Genesis chapter 10. You can see here that men are mentioned, male children are mentioned, and also nations. So where are the females? Where are the women? All I see here are male born, and two males cannot produce a child. You need a male and a female only to produce seed or offspring. And that's a fact. And another text here. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech. So Enoch is Irad's father, Mehujael's grandfather, and Methusael great-grandfather. But you see no mention of their wives in this chapter. But look in verses 19. And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. You see, these were the first two women names to be mentioned after Eve in the Bible. You see, you have to study the Bible to understand the context and how things flow. When Cain was mentioned, as I said earlier, it wasn't referring to Cain and Abel being the only people besides Adam and Eve on the earth, but it was relating to the first murder. And when it comes to Seth, Seth was the son that replaced Abel. Genesis chapter 4 verses 25. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God, said she, have appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. Don't let that part miss you. God said she have appointed me another seed instead of Abel. You see, Abel was righteous in God's sight, not Cain. That is why God didn't accept his blessing. Do you know that Noah is a descendant from Seth? Seth was righteous and Noah was righteous as well. And because of Noah's righteousness, God preserved man. Remember that God said that he would destroy man, whom he have created. Remember that in Genesis 6, God was going to destroy everything that creepeth man and everything. Bear in mind that in Genesis 4 was the descendants of Cain, which were evil. And in Genesis chapter 5 were the descendants of Seth, which were referred to in Genesis chapter 6 as the sons of God. So in other words, the descendants of Seth, which were righteous, defiled themselves with the descendants of Cain, which were evil. So there were none righteous but Noah on earth, who was a descendant of Seth, who too in his time was righteous. And as a result of Noah's righteousness to Yahuwah, the cycle of life continued. So in closing, I'm going to explain how I believe that people multiply over the face of the earth in Adam and Eve's time. Adam and Eve were created on the sixth day. God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and replenish the earth and multiply. Cain and Abel were the first two children, which were male. But as God commanded Adam and Eve to multiply, I believe that Adam and Eve continue to get children throughout the years. The Bible never told you how old Cain was when he killed his brother Abel. But what we know is that Eve were bearing children up to 130 years old when she bore Seth, which was the one that replaced Abel. And the Bible also mentioned that Adam had sons and daughters when he was 800 years old, which most likely may have been from Eve. Remember that Adam lived to 930 years old. So let's look at it this way. Seth would have replaced Abel, so Cain would have killed his brother before Seth was born. Remember, Seth was born when both Adam and Eve were 130 years old. So Cain would have killed Abel between that time. So let's say, just speculating here, that Cain would have killed Abel when he was around 90 or 100 years old, as it is within the time bracket. As Adam and Eve were created adults, let's say Cain was born in Adam and Eve's first year, as God has commanded them to be fruitful and multiply, and then Abel in the second year, and Eve throughout the years keep getting children. Bear in mind that Eve's children would have also gotten children from each other, and those children getting children from each other. I am even uncomfortable speaking about it now, but that is how it was in that day. I'm just trying to explain it to you. It was what it was then. So Eve getting children, and her children getting children, and grandchildren getting children. Cain at 90 to 100 years, even 70 years, could have easily found their wife. Genesis 2:24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So in that culture, once you can go out to hunt and provide food for your family and build a shelter to keep your family safe, and the female was at a safe age that she can bear children, she was considered a woman. So they will leave the house of their parents and live somewhere else or explore more lands. And in those days, when a man discovered land for the first time, he will usually name it after himself. And most likely, the land of Nod may have been named after one of Cain's brothers or nephews. So I hope that this would have brought some understanding on this topic. Yahuwah bless.